Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira. Over the next half an hour, we'll bring you a roundup of all the significant events to have happened around the world this week. But first, a look at the headlines. FBI counsel Robert Mueller files charges on Russian links to Donald Trump's election campaign. Trump's former campaign manager Paul Manafort and two other advisors charged on 12 counts. Terror attack in New York kills 8 people and leaves dozens injured. Prime Minister Modi calls US President Donald Trump to offer his condolences. Both leaders pledge to fight terror together. India ships its first consignment of wheat to Afghanistan by sea through Iran's strategic Chabahar port. New Delhi launches a trade route bypassing Pakistan. Shipment sent from the western seaport of Kandla. And India and Italy signed 6 agreements, including in the areas of railway safety and mutual trade. During meetings with his Italian counterpart, Prime Minister Modi seeks coordinated action on counter-terrorism and cybersecurity. Our top focus on World Panorama this week. The investigation into an alleged Russian link into US President Donald Trump's election campaign has taken a new twist with the indictment of Trump's former campaign manager Paul Manafort and his former advisor Rick Gates. While the two have pleaded not guilty, another of his aides has admitted to lying to the FBI. Trump, though, denies all allegations, calling the Robert Mueller probe a witch hunt.
FBI Special Counsel Robert Mueller has filed the first charges of his investigation into Russian links to Donald Trump's election campaign. Federal investigators probing the alleged Russian interference in the 2016 US election charged Trump's former campaign manager Paul Manafort and his former foreign policy advisor Rick Gates on 12 counts, ranging from money laundering to felony charges of conspiracy against the United States. Appearing in court, both Manafort and Gates pleaded not guilty to the charges. The court has ordered house arrest for both of them and set a $10 million unsecured bond for Manafort and a $5 million unsecured bond for Gates.
There is no evidence that Mr. Manafort or the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government. Mr. Manafort represented pro-European Union campaigns for the Ukrainian. Those activities ended in 2014, over 2 years before Mr. Manafort served in the Trump campaign.
Trump's former advisor George Papadopoulos, however, pleaded guilty to making a false statement to the FBI about contacts with Russian operatives. According to a court filing submitted by Mueller, at least 2 high-level Trump campaign supervisors and other officials were aware of Papadopoulos' contacts and communications with the Russians who aimed to defeat Hillary Clinton. Denying any allegations of collusion with the Russians, US President Donald Trump has called the Mueller probe a witch hunt. In a tweet, he said that the allegations against Manafort were from years ago.
Today's announcement has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with the president's campaign or campaign activity. The real collusion scandal, as we've said several times before, has everything to do with the Clinton campaign. There are no activities or official capacity in which the Trump campaign was engaged in any of these activities. Most of them took place well before the campaign ever even existed.
Independent and Democrat senators have expressed confidence in Mueller's investigation.
That the evidence is now overwhelming that Russia interfered in the last election, and in doing that is undermining American democracy. And what Special Counsel Mueller's task is to find out whether or not the Trump administration was in collusion with people in Russia in order to support his candidacy for president. That's what Mueller was assigned to do, and that is what he is doing. and I support his efforts.
I don't know what the next step will be for this special prosecutor, Mr. Mueller, but as I said, I have the highest level of confidence in him. And wherever he takes this, I believe we should stand on a bipartisan basis behind him and say that the Constitution is more important than any single politician or his family.
Mueller has been investigating Manafort's financial and real estate dealings and his prior work for the political group, the Party of Regions, which backed former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. Indictment of Trump's aides is the most serious step in Mueller's 5-month-old investigation to the Russian hand in Trump's win against Hillary Clinton. The next hearing is slated for the 2nd of November. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat to talk about this is Washington, D.C.-based journalist and author Seema Sirohi. Seema, thank you for joining me on the program and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You know, what kind of trouble is President Trump in domestically after this investigation has charged 3 of his former aides?
Well, the political world in Washington has been rocked with the revealing of these charges against 3 of Trump's former officials. So one thing is becoming very clear, that Mueller's investigation has a lot more information than we know. He's got one witness. This is Papadopoulos, who's cooperating with the investigation. And next week, 2 other Trump officials are supposed to testify. One is Carter Page. He was associated with the campaign as a foreign policy advisor. And Hope Hicks, who's currently the communications director in the White House. So we just don't know how much information the investigators have, but all of the political analysts in DC are saying that a lot more will come out in the days to come.
Okay, the times look difficult as far as President Trump is concerned, but you know, are the pressures domestically going to have any kind of bearings on his Asia visit?
Well, the hardline base of President Trump is behind him. There's no question about that. But a lot of the Republicans in his party are beginning to wonder, what this might unravel. This is a very serious investigation, and Robert Mueller has a reputation of being extremely focused. He has been very quietly working, and he has a lot more information against Trump and the connections between Russian operatives and the campaign officials. Paul Manafort was just the most obvious link, but there are other contacts that have been made, it is being alleged.
Right. You know, as far as his Asia visit is concerned, quick reaction on what's on the agenda, really.
See, the main issue for Trump is how to put more pressure on North Korea. So that's the one thing he's going to ask for when he meets the Chinese president. And besides that, the second most important thing is having a free Indo-Pacific region. This is something this administration has put a lot of emphasis on. And in various briefings, they've talked about how they want freedom of navigation, maritime security, etc. in this whole region. And India is one of the pillars, they have said, of keeping this whole Asia-Pacific region free from dominance by any other country. That reference is obviously to China.
Okay, fine. All right. Seema Sirohi, we'll have to leave to that. Thank you so much for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us.
Thank you.
Well, moving on now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump earlier this week pledged to fight against global terrorism together. In a phone call to Trump, Prime Minister Modi condoled the deaths of the recent New York terror attack. The attack left 8 people dead and about a dozen injured. Here's more.
Prime Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump have pledged to fight against terrorism together, the White House said in a statement on Thursday. The statement came after Prime Minister Modi spoke with Trump over the phone on Wednesday to offer his condolences over the recent New York terror attack. On Tuesday, 8 people were killed and a dozen injured after a pickup truck rammed into pedestrians in Manhattan.
We welcome and appreciate the strong coalition of all partners in this fight against terrorism globally, and we will continue that fight until we can eliminate this threat to all American citizens and our friends and allies around the world as well.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump called for an immediate implementation of tougher extreme vetting procedures. Trump also tweeted that the suspect should receive the death penalty.
It's very simple. What we are demanding is merit-based immigration. We want people that are going to help our country. We want people that are going to keep our country safe. We don't want lotteries where the wrong people are in the lotteries, and we want a merit-based system, and we do not want chain migration.
In another development, the main suspect Saifullo Saipov appeared in court and has been charged with violence and providing material support to the Islamic State. Saipov, an Uzbekistan immigrant, told investigators that he was inspired by Islamic State videos and started planning an attack a year ago. Authorities received 90 IS propaganda videos and 40,000 similar images from his phone.
Just about 24 hours after Saipov's attack, we now have him charged with federal crimes of terrorism. The complaint filed today charges Saipov with 2 counts. First, material support of a terrorist organization, that being ISIS. And second, a federal charge of violence and destruction of a motor vehicle.
Especially important in a case like this. I promise you that how we treat Mr. Saipov in this judicial process will say a lot more about us than it will say about him.
New York City's iconic Empire State Building went dark on Wednesday to honor the victims of the deadly truck attack. A vigil was also held in the Argentine city of Rosario at the high school, whose 5 former students were also killed in the attack. In a fresh incident, 2 men and a woman were killed on Wednesday night during a shooting at a Walmart supercenter in the Denver suburb of Thornton, a city in the U.S. state of Colorado. A man reportedly fled after entering the store and randomly firing a handgun near the cash register. A manhunt is on to find it. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now. Still to come, India sends first consignment of wheat to Afghanistan through Chabahar port in Iran. Route bypasses Pakistan. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The splendid, grand and massive neo-Buddhist copper dome of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It gets its influence from stupa at Sanchi. The dome is more than twice the height of the rest of the building. The reinforced concrete shell of the outer dome began to be formed during the beginning of 1929. The last stone of the dome was laid on April 6, 1929.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the first consignment of wheat from India to Afghanistan through the Chabahar port in Iran was sent last Sunday. The route bypasses Pakistan that has been denying land access to Afghanistan. India has termed it a victory against all odds created by Pakistan.
The first shipment of wheat from India to Afghanistan through the Chabahar port in Iran was flagged off on Sunday. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Afghanistan Foreign Minister Salahuddin Rabbani flagged off the shipment via video conferencing from Delhi and Kabul. The shipment was sent from the Kandla port in Gujarat. Sushma Swaraj hailed the move as a victory over odds created by Pakistan in connecting SAARC member Afghanistan with the rest of the group's member countries.
The wheat that is leaving the Indian shores today is a gift from the people of India to our Afghan brothers. It is testament to the continued commitment of the government and the people of India to support our Afghan brothers in building a normal, peaceful, prosperous, secure and bright future for themselves. At the same time, we are thankful to the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran for providing assistance in facilitating the movement of this gift through Chabahar port. This shows the convergence between the three ancient civilizations of India, Iran and Afghanistan to spur unhindered flow of commerce and trade throughout the region.
This is a special occasion. Afghanistan, the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and Republic of India. Last year, as Madam Minister mentioned, the leaders of our three nations signed the Chabahar Agreement, a landmark and mutually beneficial economic initiative for Afghanistan, India and Iran. And today's event shows that the important project to which we committed has transformed into reality.
The shipment is part of India's commitment to supply 1.1 million tons of wheat for the people of Afghanistan on grant basis. 6 more wheat shipments will be sent to Afghanistan over the next few months. In June, India and Afghanistan launched an air freight corridor between the two countries to boost trade after Pakistan refused land transit access through its territory. The Chabahar port, located on the southern tip of Iran, allows India the opportunity to bypass Pakistan to access trade points in Afghanistan. Also, the move to send the first consignment is a major initiative as Iran is also involved in this freight transport at a time it is facing threat of sanctions from the United States. However, it seems that an understanding has been reached between India and the US on operationalization of Chabahar for development purposes. US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has said during his recent visit to India that the US was not opposed to the people of Iran. This is Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, another news now, India and Italy inked 6 pacts on Monday, which included plans on boosting cooperation in the energy and trade sectors after extensive talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Italian counterpart, Paolo Gentiloni. The two leaders also held discussions on key issues such as terrorism and cybercrime. Gentiloni was on a 2-day visit to India, becoming the first Italian Prime Minister to visit India in a decade.
In a delegation-level talks with his Italian counterpart Paolo Gentiloni, Prime Minister Narendra Modi pitched for coordinated action on counter-terrorism and cyber-security. Gentiloni is on a 2-day visit to India. In March 2018, India and Italy will be completing 70 years of diplomatic relations. Both leaders, who later addressed a joint media event, also discussed ways to strengthen the bilateral political and economic relations between India and Italy.
हम दोनों आतंकवाद के सभी रूपों से लड़ने और साइबर सिक्योरिटी पर सहयोग मजबूत करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। दोनों पक्ष साझा चुनौतियां एवं हितों के मामलों में विभिन्न वैश्विक मंचों पर एक दूसरे का समर्थन करने और निकट सहयोग करने पर सहमत हैं।
I believe that relaunching our diplomatic relations provides a major opportunity to do more. And of course, as Mr. Modi was saying, also to confirm our common approach to some of the major global challenges we have before us, from climate change to combating terrorism to defending the values of democracy.
Praising the strong ties between India and Italy, Modi noted there is a huge potential to widen India-Italy trade ties. After the Modi-Gentiloni meeting, Both sides signed 6 pacts, including in areas of railway safety and mutual trade investments.
फ्लैगशिप प्रोग्राम्स एंड प्रोजेक्ट्स में इटालियन कंपनियों द्वारा और मजबूत भागीदारी को प्रोत्साहित करना चाहेंगे। भारतीय कंपनियों के साथ कोऑपरेशन में उनके लिए अपार संभावनाएं हैं। स्मार्ट सिटीज, फूड प्रोसेसिंग, फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जैसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में हमारी आवश्यकताओं, इटली की विशेषज्ञता एवं क्षमताओं से बहुत मिलती-जुलती है।
India is a country which we need to work with to further improve our cooperation. Mr. Modi has indicated some very important branches in which cooperation can take place. Railway infrastructures, major shipyards, the challenge of renewables.
Both Prime Ministers also interacted with 12 Indian and 19 Italian business leaders. Earlier in the day, Gentiloni was accorded ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The visiting leader called on President Ramnath Kovind and Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj also called on Gentiloni to discuss issues of mutual interest. Gentiloni arrived in New Delhi on Sunday for the first such visit by an Italian Prime Minister in a decade.
It's a relaunch of diplomatic relationship between India and Italy. Economically, we had been doing well, and indeed, there are directions that we will do well. But now it is time for political convergence. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person D.K. Pandey in Delhi.
Well, much else has unfolded around the world this week. Here's a quick roundup of some other international news in Globe Watch.
Spain's judiciary has issued a European arrest warrant for former Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont and 4 other former ministers who have sought refuge in Belgium. A Madrid judge also imprisoned 8 of the 9 members of the dismissed Catalan government who appeared before the court for questioning on Thursday. All the leaders have been accused of rebellion, sedition and misuse of public funds, which carried a 30-year jail term. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi made her first visit to Rakhine State. This was an unannounced trip to the area that has seen large-scale violence. More than 6 lakh Rohingyas have fled to Bangladesh since the Myanmar security forces launched an operation in response to alleged attacks by militants on August 25th against 30 police posts and a regimental headquarters. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has said that the United States is Iran's #1 enemy and Tehran will never succumb to Washington's pressure over a multinational nuclear deal. This comes just weeks after US President Donald Trump refused to formally certify Iran's compliance with the nuclear deal. Iran's officials have repeatedly said that Tehran would stick to the nuclear accord as long as the other signatories respected it. Despite blocking consensus on listing Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar as an internationally designated terrorist at the UN, Beijing on Friday said it was ready to work with India to promote bilateral ties. This is for the 4th time that China has blocked India, the US and other nations' bid to list Pathankot terror attack mastermind Azhar as a global terrorist, saying there is no consensus within the members of the sanction committee. Bhutan's King Jigme Kesa Namgyal Wangchuk and his family were in India on a 4-day visit and met various leaders, including President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The king's trip was significant due to the timing, coming within 2 months of the Doklam standoff resolution. President Kovind expressed his deep appreciation for Bhutan's support in resolving the Doklam standoff with China.
Well, let's now shift gears and bring you up to speed with all the sports news you might have missed in sports action.
Tottenham secured qualification for the Champions League knockout phase with an outstanding display to beat holders Real Madrid on a memorable night at Wembley. Spurs, with striker Harry Kane fit again after a hamstring injury, showed intensity and quality to make their mark on the Champions League after going out at the group stage last season. Del Ali gave Spurs the lead after 27 minutes, then they doubled the advantage early in the second half. Christian Eriksen provided a cool finish for the third, and Cristiano Ronaldo pulled one back for Real with 10 minutes left. Sergio Aguero became Manchester City's all-time top scorer as they beat Napoli 4-2 to reach the Champions League knockout stages in a game that lived up to the hype. City came from behind to win a meeting between the free-scoring, unbeaten top sides in the Premier League and Serie A. City and Napoli have arguably been Europe's two most entertaining sides this season, with a combined 67 goals in 21 league games, dropping only 2 points each. Rafael Nadal will end 2017 as world #1 after a second-round win over Hyun Chung at the Paris Masters. The Spaniard, who has risen from 9th at the start of the year via French and US Open victories, advanced 7-5, 6-3 in 1 hour 48 minutes. Nadal is 1,460 points clear of Swiss world #2 Roger Federer in the world rankings, and victory over Chung ensured him an unassailable lead before the World Tour Finals in London later this month. Belarus's Victoria Azarenka will miss the Fed Cup final against the United States as she continues to battle for custody of her baby son. The 28-year-old pulled out of the US Open in August as she was unwilling to leave 10-month-old Leo in California, where a judge has ruled he must stay while his future is being decided. In her absence, Belarus, who are competing in the final for the first time, will rely on world number 78, Aryna Sabalenka, to lead their campaign. Champions New Zealand will begin their quest for the third Rugby World Cup title against South Africa in Yokohama. The fixtures for the 2019 World Cup, which takes place in Japan, were announced on Thursday. England, who failed to reach the knockout stages of their own tournament in 2015, play Tonga first in Pool C. Host Japan kick off the tournament against Europe's top qualifier. The World Cup will take place between 20th of September and 2nd of November in 2019.
And finally, the TV Song Festival 2017 of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union was held on Wednesday in Chengdu City, southwest China, Sichuan province, to showcase both traditional Chinese and international elements to the world. I'm going to leave you with these visuals from Sichuan. This is Frank Pereira signing off.